I want to begin with a truth we often whisper to ourselves in the quiet of the night. A truth that we may feel but seldom speak aloud. We are more fragile than we think, and the battlefield we walk is more real than we often dare to admit. In a world so full of noise, distractions, and shifting identities, the most dangerous attacks are not always the obvious ones. Sometimes it is the softest whisper, the fleeting thought, the half glance at something we know is wrong, the companion we think is harmless. These are the doors through which our peace slips away. So today I invite you into a sacred reflection. How do we protect ourselves? Our hearts, our minds, our very selves, from evil thoughts, from people whose influence may wound our spirit, and from the whisperings of Shaytan that seek to divert us from our purpose and our peace. Harbody 1. Recognizing the battlefield first, understand that this is real. When the Quran speaks of Shaytan, it speaks of someone who says to humans, I will persuade them, I will mislead them. Quran 15:36-38a. The war begins not always on some grand scale, but often in the quiet of your own heart. When a harmful thought enters, you're not good enough, they don't really love you, you'll always fail. These are not always your thoughts alone. Sometimes they are the whisperings that aim to erode your confidence, your connection with all, your peace. Equally real are poisonous people, not always those who raise their voices, but sometimes those who walk beside you unmindful of the damage they leave behind, the constant criticism, the envy that leaks into your ear, the talk that dims your light. We must learn to see them, to name them, and to recognize how they may be allowed into our hearts. 2. Guarding the inner space. How do we respond? We begin by cultivating the heart. You do not guard a garden by ignoring the weeds. You pull them out, you tend the soil, you water the roots of what you want to flourish. In your heart, remembrance of Allah's Dhikr. Let your tongue move with Allah. Even when the mind is still, the presence of Allah in your consciousness is the greatest defense. Returning to the Quran and the Sunnah, these are not dusty pages but living water. They revive the heart. When the whisperings use familiar language, everyone else is doing it. It's just this once. You deserve this. Respond with what your Lord revealed and what His Messenger taught. Intention and solitude, and know why you are here. Ask yourself, am I living for all, or am I living for what others think of me or what I fear they will think? When the heart is clear, the whisperings lose their power. 3. Practical shielding and choosing companions. The spiritual work must translate into practical habits. Here are some ways you can do that. Choose your company wisely. If you're around someone whose words consistently leave you uneasy, drained, ashamed, ask, what do I feel after being with them? A true friend leaves you better than they found you. Limit toxic inputs, what you watch, what you listen to, what you scroll through. All of these shape the thoughts that come to you. If the environment stays messy, don't be surprised your inner space is disturbed. Replace. Don't just remove. It's not enough to suppress a bad thought. You must replace it. When you catch a thought like, I'm worthless, practice saying, but I am valued by all. I was created with a purpose. When you feel envy, reflect on the blessing you have and the purpose you're growing into. Invoke Allah in the moments of weakness. When you feel the whisper of temptation or despair, raise your hands in Dhikr. Recite A'udubillahi minash shaitanir rajim. Say the words of the Prophet Saw. O Allah, I seek refuge in you from anxiety and sorrow. These are not just words, they are your lifeline, of course. Here's an expanded reflections, about 800 words in a tone of sincere, soulful contemplation. I want you to pause for a moment and just breathe. Allow your heartbeat to soften and your mind to settle for a minute. Because what I'm about to say, it's tender. It speaks to the heart's quiet places, the places you don't always share but feel. Too often we imagine the battle for our souls must be loud, visible, heroic. But so much of the real work happens in the hush, the whisper, the moment when a thought drifts in at 2 in the morning and you wonder, where did this come from? Recognizing the battlefield means naming it. It means acknowledging that there are unseen forces weaving through our awareness. The rustle of a jealous comparison, the shadow of a fear, the ache of a wound left unattended. When we deny that these exist, we leave our garden unguarded. We assume that if nothing is overtly wrong, then everything is fine. But the truth is, a single seed of doubt left unexamined can grow into a wilderness of insecurity. The most dangerous attack on the soul is not always a spike of suffering, but a slow erosion of belief, a subtle corrosion of hope. So the first step, recognize that when you tell yourself, I'm not enough, or they don't care, or nothing will ever change, that may not just be your simple reflection on a dull day. Pause and ask, who planted this thought? Who whispered it in the corridors of my heart when I wasn't looking? And when you realize you've been speaking harshly to yourself, gently place your hand on your heart and say, this is not the truth. The enemy doesn't always arrive in roaring adversity. Sometimes he arrives in quiet voices, familiar phrases, approved language. He says, it's okay to stop fighting. It's not worth the pain. You've already failed. And because it uses your own voice, you believe it. But dear one, the heart was built for far more than self-condemnation. Your heart was built to receive mercy, to receive forgiveness, to hold hope, to carry the gentleness of your Creator. When you start to see that the whisperings of despair are not just your doing, you shift from being the battlefield to being the guard of the battlefield. You rise from the victim of the narrative to the author of your response. You say no more, not with harshness, but with clarity. So I will not entertain the voice that lies about me. I will invite in the voice that calls to my dignity. And you will discover in time that the war is not outside alone, it is within. The people we allow into our sphere, the media we consume, the thoughts we rehearse, the reflections we permit, they all stake claim on the heart's terrain. So awareness means seeing your surroundings. When you leave a gathering feeling depleted, when your mind rewinds the hurtful things they said, when your eyes can't stop scanning social media comparing you to someone else's highlight reel, recognize, acknowledge. You are letting your soil be trampled by someone else's weeds. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Often the most destructive influence comes as a gentle drip of criticism, a streak of envy, a repetitive message, a you are less than. And when you begin to name those influences, you do not necessarily cut them all out with fury. No, you simply become selective. You redress the boundary. You decide I will not allow this voice into my heart's chamber tonight. And you turn to what nurtures you instead. The remembrance of your Lord, the quiet of your breath, the belief that you were created for something gentle and purposeful. Because this is not a message of fear, but of hope, of transformation, of reclaiming the garden of your soul. Let me say this plainly, you are more than your past. You are more than the labels they gave you, the criticisms they whispered, the shame you carried when no one noticed. Each time you choose to recognize the whisperings and say, yes, I will rise beyond you, you align yourself with the one who honored you before you even honored yourself. You reclaim your dignity. You remember that your worth was not measured by others. It was written in the ink of mercy. This recognition also asks something from you, humility. Because when you realize that you are under siege, not only by external trials, but by internal attacks, you lean in. You ask for help. You open your heart. You speak the soft confessions in the dark, my Lord, protect me. And when the whisper says, no one's listening, you answer with the silence of prayer, and you let your solitude become your most holy alliance. When the whisper says, you'll never recover, you respond with, my Lord can make beauty from what broke me. See how this changes everything. Suddenly, your every moment matters. Because the heart is the altar of your worship, the chamber of your divine connection. And when you begin to guard it, you don't just protect yourself from evil thoughts, people, or hidden whisperings. You protect your entire purpose. You protect the reason you were placed on this earth. You protect the possibility that you might wake tomorrow and say, I lived, I loved, I remember, I became better than I was yesterday. So I invite you now to look at your life. What are the whispers you've stayed silent about? What invitations of despair have you accepted as truth? What subtle undermining of your joy have you let pass unnoticed? And then, with kindness, with courage, say, not anymore. Today I start guarding my heart. Today I begin tending the soil within. Let it be your resolution to live as one who knows they matter. To think as one who knows they can change, to speak as one who knows their words have weight. Because this is the secret. Empowerment is not about shouting the loudest. It's about believing softly in your own healing. It's about whispering to your heart, you are loved. You are safeguarded. You are worthy of mercy and growth. Protecting yourself from the subtle poison does not require grand gestures. It requires conscious presence, gentle awareness, daily choices of kindness toward yourself. And so when the night comes and the whisper tries to claim you again, you remind yourself, I belong to my Lord. My heart is sheltered. My purpose is intact. I will not hand over my garden to the weeds of doubt. I will not let a fleeting thought steal the legacy of my soul. Because I am here, I am alive. I have belief, I have hope, and so I walk forward. Thank you, there is a place deep within you, quieter than your thoughts, gentler than your breathing, where your heart resides. And in that stillness lies your first point of defense. Because you cannot protect what you do not know is vulnerable. So you begin by turning inwards, softly, sincerely, to ask, what is my heart drinking from? What rivers am I allowing to bubble through its soil? When you guard the inner space, you understand that the external battle is only a reflection of what the soul has allowed. That harsh word, the lingering resentment, the envy you feed when no one is watching, these are not outside intruders alone. They are house guests invited by an unexamined heart. How often we blame the night for our unrest when the root was planted in daylight. How often we curse the people who bruised us when we neglected the bruises ourselves. Remember, your heart is not a museum piece to be put on display only on special occasions. It is a living, breathing organ of remembrance and response. It is the altar upon which you place your intentions, your hopes, your anguish. And if you leave it untended, the whisper of Shaytan will find its way in through the cracks. You're not worthy. You'll always be behind. They don't care. And you begin to believe it, not because the words were spoken, but because you offered the space for them to root. So the guarding begins with remembering, with letting your tongue move even when your throat is dry, with letting all become the compass in your direction, the anchor in your sway. Because the presence of the divine in your consciousness is not merely a ritual, it is a refuge. When the world presses heavy on you, when a thought slips in uninvited, you turn and say, here I am. I choose remembrance. In that choosing, you reclaim your territory, and then you revisit the source, the living book, the messenger's way. These are not tales of antiquity, but keys to your very now. When the whisper comes cloaked in familiar language, everyone else is doing it. This is harmless. No one will know. You pivot. You remind yourself, I am not defined by the crowd. I am not led by the one who owns the noise. I belong to the one who counts the whispers before they become a roar. You anchor yourself in what was given, not what was sold to you by the world's bargain. Becoming aware also means solitude. Not the kind of loneliness that isolates, but the kind of solitude that connects. When you step away from many voices, many demands, many shoulds, you find your own rhythm, your own call. You ask, what am I living for? Whose pleasure is my pursuit? And if the answer is anything less than your Lord's, you stand up. You shift. Because the offender might be external, but the place of surrender was internal. You was not surrendered because they forced you. You surrendered because you traded your clarity for chaos. And now you reclaim it. Still, this work is tender. It's not a grand march, but a quiet turning, a consistent across the threshold. It is when you catch a thought saying you are worthless, and you gently answer, if I am valued by the most knowing. It is when you feel inferior and you remind yourself, my worth was written before I knew my own reflection. You don't wage war with anger, you defend with grace. Because the heart will heal not by force, but by love, and it changes your world. Because when you begin to guard the inner space, the outer space changes. The company you keep with more wisdom. The media you consume, you choose with intent. Because the soil of your heart begins to matter more than the status of your screen. And the quiet moments begin to become your milestones. You realize the greatest battle was never about winning applause, but about preserving a silence in which your Lord speaks. My dear one, this is the dignity that belongs to you, that you guard your heart as if it were the most sacred thing you own. because it is. The words you hear, the thoughts you hold, the people you allow, they all pass through that chamber. Let it be a sanctuary rather than a hall of echoes. Let it be a place of refuge rather than a corridor of weariness. Because you are not here merely to exist. You are here to flourish. You are here to remember, to connect, to reflect, and to love both your Creator and the self He honored. So begin now, in the gentle turning of your mind away from what harms, in the soft insistence of your words, I will not be defined by what I thought I was, in the quiet boundary drawn around your inner life. Let your heart become the home of beautiful things, the fear of all, the hope of mercy, the memory of love. Because when you guard that space well, you protect from inside out. You shield not only what threatens you, but you shield what was meant to dwell peacefully in you. And as you walk forward, you will notice no one sees the fortress you quietly built. But your peace will see you, your heart will know, your Lord will witness. Here's the expanded version of Key Note No. 3, written in the same reflective, soulful tone. There's a truth that often sits in the shadows of our lives. We cannot merely defend our inner self. We must also choose the terrain we walk upon, and sometimes walk away from the terrain that drags us into defeat. We tend to think, when danger comes, we must hide, we must tense, we must fight the external force. But the subtler, deeper work is the act of detachment and replacement. Not in bitterness, but in dignity. For when our thoughts, our people, our moments are being influenced by what drags us down, we have a choice: either we keep giving them space, or we reclaim it for what builds us up. Imagine for a moment a house on a stormy night. The windows are rattling, the wind is hollering, the darkness pressing against the glass. You can sit inside and watch the storm throw everything against your walls, or you can go to the room with the thick shutters, draw them, light a lantern, and create a sanctuary. That is the work of choosing your company, your media, your inner environment. Because you are not just protecting yourself from an attack, you are creating a sacred space where the attack cannot reach you. Your boundary may seem small to some, but the whisperer doesn't respect small spaces unless you call them yours. When you catch yourself after a gathering feeling smaller than you entered, when you find that after scrolling you feel hollow instead of uplifted, when you leave a conversation and your mind replays a phrase that landed like a stone, stop. In those moments, ask stop. Did I leave better than how I arrived? Did I carry something back that warms my soul rather than chills it? If your answer is no, you have given away your time, your psyche, your territory. Time doesn't come back. Thoughts don't simply leave by themselves, we must intervene. And so you intervene by replacement. The mind is not a blank canvas. It is painted with what we allow to be there. You may remove a toxic person, but if you don't replace them with someone better, you leave the frame empty, ready for any picture. You may stop one harmful habit, but if you don't replace it with a nourishing one, you leave a vacuum, and that vacuum will fill. You may shut out one whisper of doubt, but unless you recite louder the truth of your value, that whisper finds another way in. So consciously replace the time you spend scrolling aimlessly, replace with reading a verse and reflecting. The talk you allow to demean you, replace with talk that affirms your worth. The people whose presence drains you, replace with those whose presence revives you. This path of detachment is not about isolation. It is about clarity. It is not about cutting everyone out. It is about choosing who to invite in. It is the recognition that not all light you meet belongs to you, and not all darkness is external. The real test isn't when the storm is visible. The real test is when the storm comes quietly, through a smile that belittles, a comment that undermines, a glance that says you're less than. That's why we must protect not only from the obvious thunder, but from the subtle drizzle. And we must remember, this work is not just for the moment, it is for the future you. Because the habits you build now will shape the person you become when the big test comes. If your inner world is constant chaos, when the storm roars you will collapse. If your world is gently tethered to what is true, when the storm roars you will stand. You are not just enduring for today, you are enduring for the self you will thank tomorrow. There is a beautiful line in the spiritual journeys. You don't just guard what you already have, you guard what you are becoming. So ask yourself, what am I becoming? Are you becoming someone whose heart belongs to the lowest common denominator of conversation? Or someone whose heart is tethered to the divine, whose silence is richer than most noise? Are you becoming someone whose relationships define them? Or someone who defines their relationships by their values? Because when you answer that with honesty, your choices will reflect that. Let me speak plainly, you deserve better than the leftover of a gathering that left you empty. You deserve better than the media that promised entertainment and delivered anxiety. You deserve better than the companionship that existed but cost you peace. You deserve to enter your days knowing you will leave them better than you found them. To your time, be its steward. To your mind, be its gardener. To your heart, be its protector, but also its tender. Because this is the heart's truth every time you choose peace. Every time you replace a toxic current with a mercy current. Every time you turn away from what weakens you and instead lean into what strengthens you. You erect a fortress of subtle strength, and the enemy will come. He will come in shadows, in whispers, in attractive packages wrapped in, everyone is doing it. It's normal, just this once. But when you have built inside you that sacred space, he has no footing, because you said a no more, not with force, with gentle clarity, with peace that is unshakable. And when one day you look back, you will see not how many battles you fought, but how many you prevented. You will not be defined by the chaos you weathered, but by the dignity you preserved. You will look at your garden and realize you did not just survive, you flourished. And the world will not always see it, but your heart will know, and your Lord will witness. So walk this path, make the hard choices now. Choose your company, choose your consumption, choose your silence and your words, because the whispers of the night will always come. But in your guarded inner chamber, light will remain. And that light is yours.